Happy Football Friday, everybody. Welcome into Morning JOX. Conrad Van Order and Damian Mitchell here with you as we cap off another week of football season and get you set for a great slate of games tonight, tomorrow, Sunday if you're into the NFL, Monday night. So hopefully it's going to be another great weekend of football action. I know a lot of people tonight, high school football getting first round of the playoffs getting underway tonight. I know some games were played yesterday, trying to avoid some of the weather. I was on the call for Mountain Brook last night. Shout out to the Spartans as they got a win over Mortimer Jordan, and they're going to advance to the second round of the 6A playoffs. But I know a lot of you going to be out and about tonight, and it is going to be a little rainy and a little stormy over the weekend. So just make sure that you stay weather aware. But it should be just a fantastic weekend of football, starting off with what you got tonight. High school playoffs. Then tomorrow you got Alabama and Auburn in action. You got another couple other SEC games. We got a top 10 matchup in the Big 12 to look forward to. We got a pretty big game in the Big 10 that I haven't heard a ton of people talking about with Oregon and Iowa. So there's a lot to be excited about this weekend. And, of course, we have made it almost to another weekend. So always good to be here, Damian, on a Friday. Of course, we're going to bring you our picks for this week's college football slate coming up at 6:30. Because that's how we like to do it here on the Friday edition of the show. But that also means that it's Final Score Friday. And if you're new to the program here, what that means is you can text us on the Courtesy GMC text line at 205-834-9450. And all you're going to do is you're going to tell us what you think your final score prediction is for whatever game you want this weekend. Alabama versus LSU, Auburn versus Vanderbilt. Let's see. Maybe you're a really big fan of the Citadel, and you think that they're going to put a scare into Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss before he leaves for another job.
No, let's not be disrespectful.
Maybe you are you're chomping at the bit, man. Bowling Green at Eastern Michigan, that's calling your name tomorrow at 11 a.m.
That'd be Pat Smith. That'd be Pat Smith.
Yeah, maybe so. But if that's the game you're looking forward to, give us a score prediction. Again, 205-834-9450. We always love getting those from you each and every Friday. But Damian, let's start off before we get into what's going to happen tomorrow in college football. Let's take a look back at last night and what happened because, again, it was a great night. You had college football, professional football, college basketball. You had a lot of options last night. So we'll start in the NFL with the Thursday night game, which...
we went back to the old days.
Yeah, this wasn't one of the better Thursday night games in recent memory, to say the least. But you had the Broncos taking on the Las Vegas Raiders there in an AFC West matchup. The Broncos win a game 10-7 last night over the Las Vegas Raiders. So you got to give credit. I mean, the Raiders, they got out in front early. Ashton Genty had a rushing touchdown to put them up 7-0. Then the Broncos tied it up to make it 7-7 at halftime. And all you got in the second half was a field goal from Denver, and
that's about it.
That's all you got in the second half of the game last night. So it wasn't particularly interesting. Both of the quarterbacks struggling last night. Geno Smith, he goes 16-26 for a $143 as well as an interception. Bo Nix, 150 yards through the air, one touchdown, but had a couple of interceptions there for the Broncos last night. But hey, I will just say this. It wasn't a pretty game. Wasn't particularly enjoyable to watch. But for Denver, all they do is win right now.
Yeah.
Right? They're 5-0 at home. They're 8-2 overall. I think they're kind of flying under the radar because, again, some of their wins, you look and they're just kind of gritty, ugly wins. But at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But, I mean, Denver right now, they've shown that, at least in terms of wins and losses, they're one of the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah, and they have a win over the Super Bowl champions in the Philadelphia Eagles. They've beaten them. They've gone on the road to beat them. Yeah, it's not the prettiest, and if you watch Bo Nix, you probably had, flashbacks of his time at Auburn, running for his life and just kind of throwing it up, especially that first interception. One, you saw the arm strength and the arm talent that he has. He went from one hash on the field, 70 yards across, to the other hash. Yeah, it was intercepted, but it's okay. Yeah, he has a cannon. But Las Vegas isn't a good football team. Geno Smith, I feel kind of bad because you thought that he had a little bit of a resurgence when he was in Seattle, but it's not translating since he's been in Las Vegas. No. And it was like you said, it was an ugly ball game. Wasn't the best. But Denver just finds a way to win. If it doesn't matter how you get it, it's all about the W or the L. And Denver's finding a way. The Sean Payton project and Bo Nix marriage is working, I guess, because they're still finding ways to win. But there were some boo birds out for Denver last night too.
Oh, yeah.
They were frustrated. But if your defense plays like that week in and week out, you'll take it. You'll take a 10-7 win the rest of the way if that means you're hoisting the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, and I'm saw something wrong, Pat Surtain, he didn't even play last night for Denver,
Yeah,
right?
he's out.
That's your best player.
Yeah, he's out.
Again, defensively, when you hold, I don't care who it is, but you're holding them to 7 points, that'll do. But yeah, I mean, you just look at the game last night. Denver 220 total yards of offense. Las Vegas 188. Just absolutely disgusting football there. But again, at the end of the day, Denver walks away with a victory. They're sitting at 8-2 atop the AFC West there. Las Vegas, they fall to 2-7. So certainly been a season to forget for them. But for the Broncos, right, your next game is the Chiefs. And if you get that one, you move to 9-2 in the division. You're really going to have some separation there. And I think maybe some people start talking about Denver a little bit differently. But again, hey, when you have an off night from your quarterback, you're banged up on defense, you're missing your best player, and you still find a way to get a victory in the NFL, I don't think anybody in Denver is going to be complaining about that. So that was your Thursday night football action there last night on Amazon Prime. You had a couple of college football games going on last night. So Georgia Southern, they take down App State 25-23. App State tried to make it interesting. They scored 14 in the fourth quarter to make it a close one there. But Georgia Southern, they're able to get away with the victory now. So they move to 2-3 in the Sun Belt on the season. App State, they fall to 1-4 in the Sun Belt. But I know a game that I'm sure some of you were checking out last night, and that's UTSA in South Florida. And South Florida they basically did what UTSA did to Tulane last week.
Brutal.
That's maybe the best way that I could describe it. But yeah, the Fighting Alex Golishes, they get a big win, 55-23 last night over UTSA. Just an absolute beat down there. Byron Brown, he goes for 239 through the air, 2 touchdowns. He completed 14 of 15 pass attempts. And, oh, yeah, by the way, he added 109 yards and a touchdown on the ground on just 9 carries. So it was the Byron Brown show last night for South Florida as they put a whooping on UTSA. So South Florida now, they move to 4-1 in the American. Obviously, that loss to Memphis that kind of hangs over them a little bit. But, hey, maybe Tulane can do them a favor tonight because if you're unaware, Tulane and Memphis will be facing off tonight in a game that has some big implications on the college football playoff as well as, right, it's just John Summerall and maybe getting closer and closer to his final game in Tulane. And
yeah. Are you saying he's taking the LSU job or the Florida job?
I don't know if it's going to be one of those.
Oh, interesting. But no, South Florida last night, dog, they had 14 points on the board without running an offensive play. They had
it's a good strategy.
The first play of the game after the opening kickoff, UTSA threw a pick 6, and then they drove down the field and they fumbled, and it was a scoop and score. Like USF, like we talk about, belt to ass. It was so quick, and they jumped on them so early. It was 40. I think it was 42-14 at halftime. Like USF was not playing around, and I mean, you just looked at UTSA, and they looked. I mean, after the second or third drive, you just look like, oh, we this may be a long one. And USF did not. I mean, they did not let up. Byron Brown and those guys, Alex Golesh. I'm telling you, man, he is a walking. Like his interview is literally his resume. Like you cannot deny it at this point. He's gone down to South Florida and really turned them into, I mean, a team that you don't want to play because when they light you up, they do not hold back at all. And UTSA was the recipient of that last night.
I was about to say, yeah, that was on full display last night. So yeah, like you said, 45-10 at halftime there for USF, and yeah, just I mean, like you said, you had back-to-back defensive touchdowns. Time of possession in this game, UTSA, they held the ball for almost twice as long. They had the ball for 39 minutes, 47 seconds compared to 20 minutes and 13 seconds for USF, and they lost by 32. And they doubled them up in time of possession.
Hey. Yeah, USF ain't have time to play. They have stuff to do. They got the stuff on their mind.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So they were certainly very efficient last night. So shout out to Alex Golish, and that's somebody that again we've heard a lot of good things about him and his name popping up in some of these coaching conversations. And it seems like now maybe if you were to look in a direction that his name was trending, maybe it's to Arkansas. That seems to be the again if we're just
I thought Ryan Silverfield.
hearsay.
I thought Ryan Silverfield took that one. I'm pretty sure. I may be tripping.
I wonder if
But I
you
thought he
saw.
was-
I think you may have seen one of the.
Was AI?
Yeah, I think that was one.
God
of the,
almighty. Can't trust nothing.
Because
Can't trust nobody
it's the same
nowadays.
as the Mike Loxley thing that was going around, and I saw a
God.
lot of people that were. It's like, yeah, that one's not real.
Man, if it don't come from Pete Thamel, I ain't trusting it no more.
Well, the problem is it'll come from an account that says that it's Pete Thamel and has the same profile picture as Pete Thamel,
Right.
and then it's some random bot account somewhere.
God.
That would be.
I got fooled.
Yeah. Hey. Maybe it does happen, right? And then you won't be fooled. You were just, you had
I
it
was
before
early.
anybody else.
DM6 and tail.
That's right. That's right. So that was your college football slate from last night. Again, big win there for South Florida over UTSA. And finally, your recap of last night. A little bit of college basketball quickly. I know it's still early on in the season, but Auburn. Now that's how Auburn basketball should look, right? This was a lot. If you're an Auburn fan, I think you enjoyed this one a lot more than the Bethune-Cookman game to open up the season earlier this week. But Auburn, they absolutely take it to Merrimack, 95-57, just absolutely dominated them. It was a horrible shooting night for Merrimack. So they shoot 28% from the field, 25% from the three-point stripe. Just couldn't get anything going offensively, but you got to give credit to Auburn and the defense that they were playing. I know at times you saw Stephen Pearl get a little fired up, a little animated because guys were not doing what they were supposed to do on the defensive end of the ball last night. But for Auburn, right, you shoot 50% from the floor, 25% from three. So, again, not a great three-point percentage night, just like in the first game. You're shooting a little over 70% from the free throw stripe. So still some things to iron out there for the Auburn Tigers as they move forward over the season. But Keyshawn Hall, another big night for him. He has 25 points to go along with 14 rebounds for Auburn last night. So he's been fantastic in their two games since transferring over from UCF. You got Sebastian Williams-Adams, the freshman. He scored 14 last night, got a lot of praise from him. Stephen Pearl saying he reminds him a little bit of Dylan Cardwell in the fact that he's a freshman, but you would think that that guy's a junior or senior just based on the way he carries himself and his leadership and things, early on in his career. So that's always good to hear. Pettiford, 13 points last night, still trying to kind of get him going this season. But a good win for Auburn, right? 38 points. That'll certainly make you feel a little bit better moving ahead here for the Auburn Tigers. But much better sign of things because I know some people were worried after the first game of the season. But again, it was the first game, and we will learn a lot about this Auburn team coming up next weekend because they're going to be taking on Houston. And that is going to be the first big challenge for this Tigers team, and we will wait and see what we learn about them next weekend. And this is also your reminder that coming up this weekend, tomorrow morning, you're going to get Alabama basketball in St. John's. They're going to be battling it out there at Madison Square Garden. So we'll learn a lot about Alabama tomorrow. We're going to learn a lot about Auburn next weekend when they take on Houston. So that is your quick SEC college basketball update. But let's keep going with the college football conversation. There is a little bit of coaching news going on around the country, so we want to keep you up to date on everything that's going on in the college football coaching carousel because it is a wild one. That's all next here on JOX. Welcome back into Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damien here with you on your Friday morning. Appreciate you making us a part of your day each and every morning right here on Jocks as we carry on with the college football conversation. And, of course, it is a Final Score Friday, and we're going to get to some of those here in just a minute. But if you want to send in your Final Score predictions for the weekend, you can do so at 205-834-9450, and that'll get you on the courtesy GMC text line. Well, I told you before we went to break that there is some college football coaching news going on, and a decision has been made, Damien, regarding one head coach in one university in the Big Ten. But it's not Penn State. Wisconsin, they announced yesterday that they are going to bring back Luke Fickell for one more season in 2026 with a improved investment in the quality of players that the Wisconsin Badgers could potentially have on their roster for next season. So I guess they've identified that, hey, I know we're really bad this year, but we're not going to put the blame on Luke Fickell. We're going to say, hey, we haven't given him the resources to go out there and build a roster that's capable of competing in the Big Ten in 2025. So they're going to give him the opportunity to do that in 2026. So again, I know that was one of those jobs that we thought very well may come open at some point, at the end of the season. But they doubled down yesterday, and Wisconsin AD Chris McIntosh announces that Luke Fickell will get one more year at least as the man in charge of the Wisconsin Badgers football program. So certainly going to be interested to see what that increased commitment financially looks like for the Wisconsin Badgers. But that's your big coaching news for the day right there, because unfortunately, all of the Twitter bait and things like that, that's true, unfortunately.
Congratulations to Luke Fickell. It's
good for him.
It sounds great when your athletic director has your support and you're rocking. You're doing something right up there.
It's nice. It's just funny because you like to wonder if, like, behind closed doors, he's kind of like, dadgummit, I was really looking forward to that buyout.
Exactly.
I was kind of hoping that I was going to be on the beach next fall, but I guess I'll be back here in Wisconsin. So, but Wisconsin, they get to secure Luke Fickell for at least one more year. His job is safe for at least one more year. Let's get to your text, though, really quick, because a lot of you sending in your Final Score Friday predictions here at 205-834-9450 on the courtesy GMC text line. We'll start off with Jamie. He sent them in early this morning, so he's got two predictions. He says Alabama 34, LSU 21.
Okay.
And then he also throws in Vanderbilt 35, Auburn 16.
Man. Think the defense is going to go backwards now that DJ Durkin's the head coach? Or maybe Diego Pavia found some juice last week and was like, hey, we're going to keep this momentum rolling. 35?
I just read them. This one comes in and says, I just really have a gut feeling that this weekend is going to be special. LSU 24, Alabama 21. Auburn 28, Vanderbilt 13.
I see where he's going there.
That would be a special weekend.
Oh, it would.
Let's see. This text rolls in. Alabama 31, LSU 17. Vanderbilt 17, Auburn 13.
So close.
Very close. Let's see. Yep, somebody here talking about how impressed they were. South Florida being up 14-0 before their offense even stepped on the field. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good way to start a game. Fanboy chimes in. He has 4 score predictions for us today. So he goes Alabama 31, LSU 17.
Okay.
He goes Vanderbilt 24, Auburn 14.
Okay.
He's going to go Indiana 28, Penn State 21.
Ooh.
And then he's going to go Oregon 21, Iowa 17.
Okay.
It's going to be an interesting one.
I don't mind.
It's going to be an interesting one. How about this one? ZZ chimes in. He says Alabama 38, LSU 13. He got me with this one because he put the Auburn score first. But Auburn 17, Vanderbilt 35. I just thought because he put that
he had you the first half.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's going alphabetical order.
Not quite. Let's see. This one rolls in. It says, good morning, guys. My score predictions for the week. Have a great weekend and roll tide. Guess we know where this one's going. Alabama 38, LSU 20. Vanderbilt 28, Auburn 17, Georgia 45, Mississippi State 21.
Ooh.
Texas A&M 35, Missouri 21. Florida over Kentucky 28-13. Texas Tech 38, BYU 28, and then he's got Memphis 28, Tulane 24. Okay. That game is tonight, by the way. Memphis and Tulane should be a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Don, he chimes in. He says, "Good morning, guys. My predictions for Friday are Auburn's going to win 17-14 over Vanderbilt. Alabama's going to win 31-17 over LSU. And Georgia's going to win 31-21 over Mississippi State." He says, "I'll keep on picking Auburn in every game because I'm an Auburn fan."
Whatever. You were scared to pick the Missouri game.
Well, I was about to say, besides the one game that you didn't want to.
Right. But you tell me you got to go on the road and beat Vanderbilt? Okay.
They're going to pull a UCLA UAB, man.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. Against Diego Pavia? Interesting.
Didn't work out super well for Penn State after they fired their coach.
No,
it
didn't. It's different in the Big Ten, though.
You're right.
It's different in the Big Ten.
You're right.
Well, actually, UCLA is in the Big Ten. I forgot they're in the Big Ten, too. So.
It's just different in the old Big Ten.
Yeah, the real Big Ten.
That's right, the real Big Ten. Let's see, more of your texts coming in here, more of your score predictions. This one, Texas A&M 24, Missouri 13, Vanderbilt 23, Auburn 17. That's what it says. Let's see, Texas Tech 37, BYU 16, Alabama 34, LSU 20. Oh, here we go. He says, now the upsets. He's got two upsets. Wake Forest over Virginia, 31-27.
Red Zone Robbie.
Please.
Let's go.
I do not want to see Virginia in a playoff.
Red Zone Robbie.
And then he's got Iowa. How about this? Iowa 27, Oregon 17.
Hey, I'm telling you, if Iowa can make it a fist fight, I don't know if Oregon's ready for that.
It's gonna be a good one.
And it's supposed to be like bad weather up there in Iowa, pretty cold, and Iowa likes to 2 yards in a cloud of dust.
This text coming in about the Auburn coaching search. It says, Summerall is losing steam with Auburn fans. With Summerall, Auburn will lose an already intact championship defense.
Dang. You don't think he can keep them on the roster after 5 days?
He also adds in that Diego Pavia won't be able to do blank with Xavier Atkins spying him. He says Auburn 24-17.
I just want to see Auburn score 24 points. If that's the biggest thing. You think just because you fired Hugh Freeze that the offensive line got better?
Well, would you rather see him score 24 points, Damian, or 30 like Nick has him predicted to do? Because he says Auburn 30, Vanderbilt 24.
Again,
you're going to score 24, you might as well score 30. That's what I said.
I just find it difficult to believe that I know, again, you fired your head coach, but the offensive line still looks the way it does no matter who's the head coach. So
you're such a hater, Damian.
No, I'm just saying.
They're trying their hardest out there. They're close.
Absolutely.
They're close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the same man that said they were close got fired. So y'all don't know if I ain't never seen a kid get fired, but I mean the way that they're playing, it's warranted a reducing contract.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. So keep on sending in your final score predictions. We love them. 205-834-9450 because we'll get back to those a little bit later in the show. But you know what time it is? It's Friday. We're halfway through the show. That means it's time for our picks. Me and Damian, we give you our picks for the biggest weekend matchup in college football. That's coming up next right here on JOX. When you hear that music, you know exactly what time it is here on Morning Jocks. Welcome in. Conrad and Damien here with you on a Friday morning, a football Friday, as we hope to get you started off on your weekend the right way right here on Jocks. So each and every Friday at this time, me and Damien will go through, give you our thoughts, our final picks on the biggest college football games coming up this weekend. And let's get started, Damien. We will kick things off. We're going to kick things off outside of the SEC. So a lot of weeks, right, we do mainly just SEC matchups, but this week, not as many great SEC matchups and some really good matchups in other conferences around the country. So let's start off in the Big 12, Damien. How about that? Because we know they like to score points in the Big 12, and they have the only top 10 matchup in college football this weekend, as BYU is going to travel to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech in the Red Raiders. They're at 11 a.m. on ABC. So again, BYU at Texas Tech, 7 versus 8. College football implications galore on the line. But how about this? BYU undefeated. Texas Tech, a 10.5-point favorite at home over the Cougars. And I'm going to be completely honest. Look, the 10.5 is rich, and I'll be the first to say I'm just not a huge believer in BYU yet. Now, this is an opportunity, right? If you go on the road and you win this game, I will view you in a different light. But for right now, I think Texas Tech, they're definitely better defensively, a little bit better offensively, but I'm going to take Bear Morton. I think they're better at quarterback, even though BYU's quarterback wears number 47. So I'm going to take Texas Tech. 10.5 is a lot, but I think with them at home, again, I think BYU is just a little bit of a paper tiger. So give me Texas Tech. I think they win and cover.
I think this would be one of the more physical games we see this weekend. I believe in BYU to an extent. I think they can match up physically with Texas Tech, but I think the key in it all is Texas Tech's defense. I believe more in Texas Tech's defense making a stop than I do BYU's defense slowing up, or even if they make it a fist fight, I think that Texas Tech's defense can withstand that and apply pressure. I think BYU can get them plus 10.5, but I think Texas Tech wins the ball game close.
All right, so there you go. We both think Texas Tech gets the W. I like them to cover. Damien likes BYU to cover the 10.5 there. Also at 11 a.m. in the SEC, this game going to be on ESPN. Number 5, Georgia, they head on the road to Starkville to take on Mississippi State. So this line has now gone up. It opened up. It was around 7.5 for Georgia. Now I'm looking at 9.5 in favor of the Bulldogs. But a close one last week in Jacksonville, right? A rivalry game for Georgia as Florida did a heck of a job. Granted, if Gunnar Stockton doesn't take a knee at the end of that game, right? Like the score looks a little different, right? If you win by 11 versus 4. But Georgia, Mississippi State right now, they've got their first SEC win. They beat Arkansas. Can you work some magic at home? How big of an impact can the cowbell? Look, if I'm playing football at 11 a.m. and I got those cowbells going, that's annoying as hell, right? So maybe that is something that works in their favor and hurts Georgia. But it's hard for me to go against Georgia in this spot. They played a close one last week. Again, they start slow. Maybe they start slow again here. I think they're too good. And I think, again, we've just seen Mississippi State in these spots this year. They just can't get across the finish line in these types of matchups. So give me the Bulldogs of Georgia.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Georgia is more of a victim of their own inflicted wounds than anything that another team does. I agree with you. They start off slow, and I think Mississippi State can run off momentum to an extent, but it's going to run out when it's the fourth quarter and Georgia's able to lean on that ground game and really start to bleed the clock, and Mississippi State's going to start to press. So I think it's a battle till about midway in the third quarter, and Georgia starts to separate. So I think Georgia wins by 2 touchdowns, but I think it's a later score to end up that Georgia covers the 9.5.
All right, so we both like Georgia and the cover there over Mississippi State coming up tomorrow at 11 a.m. All right, let's move to the 2:30 slate. We got some great games here as well. So at 2:30 in the SEC, Texas A&M on the road against Missouri. Texas A&M a 6.5-point favorite on the road. Remember, no Bo Pribula as he is out. They did get some good news, though. He might be able to return before the end of the regular season. It seems like that'd be kind of a stretch, but potentially good news for Drinkwitz and company. But I'll just say, I mean, I think they're both coming off of a bye week. Texas A&M, I think they win and cover. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Feels like a good spot for them to kind of flex their muscle a little bit.
Yeah, especially coming after what happened down in Death Valley. They sent Brian Kelly packing. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and they have a team that is great. There's no other way to put it. And I think that Marcel Reed is starting to come into his own week after week. And every single week I raise some question marks. All he does is go out there and ball. And with the receivers that they have, the explosives they have on offense, and I think Le'Veon Moss is out, but I still think the bevy of backs they have in the run game. I love Ahmad Hardy, but he can't do it himself for Missouri. I think Texas A&M goes out there and handles their business. I think they win pretty convincingly.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat there. So me and Damien both on the Aggies tomorrow. Also at 2:30 over on CBS. I'm actually really excited to watch this game because I think it could be very, very difficult, and that is going to be Oregon at Iowa. So we had a couple people text in predicting an upset in this one earlier. But so number 9 Oregon versus number 20 Iowa. Oregon getting 6.5 points on the road in Iowa City. I think this is one. Now, I think Oregon's going to win this football game. I think I'm going to take Iowa in the plus 6.5, though. I think this is a game, again, Oregon, it's just hard for me to know what to make of them because we've only seen them play one good team and they lost that game, right? And so this is an opportunity, I think, to go out there. And if you win in convincing fashion, I think that's certainly somewhat of a statement win. But for Iowa, right, if you win this game, playoff hopes are alive. You lose, that's kind of over with. So a lot on the line for them at home. And, again, it's just an Oregon team that hasn't been battle tested this year, and this is going to be a test for them. So I think Oregon wins, but give me Iowa plus 6.5.
And that's I'm torn because as we get closer to kickoff, I'm in my gut. I'm feeling Iowa may stink this up to an extent that.
Oh, you mean like Oregon just rolls through them?
Yeah,
I can see that. I can see that.
It's like, okay, I want to believe in Iowa. I really do because of the style in which they play. And I remember watching the Oregon-Indiana game of, okay, if Oregon gets hit in the mouth, they don't really know how to respond in a positive manner. And then going back to Penn State where it never felt like they separated. And then you look a couple games later, it's, okay, maybe Penn State was just playing off of pure emotion and adrenaline. That the reason why that game was so close. And the game was on the road and Oregon just didn't handle their business. But I think Oregon has a point to prove of, all right, now it's time for everybody to know who we are. So I think Oregon handles, I think they cover, but I think it's a slower burn. Like it's kind of one of those, it's a boxing match where Iowa's going to throw their jabs, Oregon throws their jabs, and right when Iowa needs that stop, Oregon lights them up quick, and it kind of just goes from there. So I think Oregon wins and also covers.
All right, so there we go. That's a big Big Ten matchup coming up this weekend. Before we get to Alabama and Auburn, we do have another SEC game, 6:30 tomorrow night on the SEC Network. Florida and Kentucky. Florida, a 3.5-point favorite in this matchup. Obviously, Kentucky coming off their win over Auburn and the firing of one Hugh Freeze. If you're the Florida Gators, you're coming off of that close one against Georgia last week in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I think for this
Florida-Georgia line game. That's what it's called.
Sorry, the Florida-Georgia line game. I'm going to go Florida in this one. I think they can win and cover. I think they're better than Kentucky. I know they have to go on the road. And, I could see this game being kind of gross, honestly. I could see it being lower scoring, but I'm going to give the nod to Florida. I know they're both 3-5. Both are not having spectacular seasons, but I think Florida's 3-5 looks a lot better than Kentucky's 3-5. That's just my opinion.
I called this one yesterday on Mac and Cube. I think Kentucky gets it.
Okay.
I think Kentucky gets it.
Man, Stoops really wants to keep his job, huh?
Yeah, and he just continues to find a way. I think Trey Wilson is out for Florida. And there's
the injury report for this one
it's bad.
Lengthy.
Yeah,
for both sides.
Yeah, it's bad. But I think that Kentucky, I'm not a big believer in Cutter Boley, but I think that the style in which they play, and I think the development they have with Kendrick Law and those guys at receiver, they can overcome a lot. So I'm not saying it's going to be a shootout, but if they have to go out there and score some points, they can go toe-to-toe because I don't think Florida is as explosive as they have been, or at least early on. And DJ Lagway has kind of shown you that he can have some misses in there. So I think Florida does just enough to keep them in the to keep Kentucky in the ball game, and I think Kentucky squeaks one out in the end.
So is Cutter Bowley their best quarterback since Will Levis? Is he better than Will Levis?
The bar ain't even that high, and it's a no. It's not even that high, and he ain't even better than Will Levis. No, I would take No, I'm not even gonna do it. I was about to say I'll put Zach Calzada back out there, but no, he's trash too. So
you see that?
Yep. Yeah, Garrett, whoever Garrett is, get your money up, dog.
If you know, you know. If you know, you know. All right, those are some of our predictions. We've still got to get to Alabama and Auburn. We always like to save those for last, and we also want to get to more of your score predictions. 205-834-9450. Keep sending those to the courtesy GMC text line. Our picks for Alabama and Auburn, though, those are on the way next. 647, welcome back into Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell with you until 7 o'clock when we will hand you off to McElroy and Kublick in the morning. So we still got to give you our picks for Auburn and Alabama, their matchups this weekend, as we went through the rest of the college football slate for you in the last segment. And of course, we also want to get to more of your final score predictions, 205-834-9450 on a Final Score Friday over there on the Courtesy GMC text line. All right, first, let's finish up our picks, though. Damian, we'll start off with the earlier of the two matchups. That is going to be at 3 o'clock on the SEC network, where you will have Auburn and Vanderbilt. Auburn, their first game with DJ Durkin at the helm as interim head coach after parting ways with Hugh Freeze last Sunday. And Vanderbilt, a 6.5-point favorite at home. So the interesting thing here, so Vanderbilt, they are 7-2 on the season. They've lost to Alabama and Texas. In their 7 wins, they have won every game by at least a touchdown. Just saying, if you're into trends and things of that nature. But I do think for this one, right, I think there's the potential for Auburn to have a little bit of that magic. And I think a lot of it's going to have to come from the defensive side of the ball, right? Is this a game where not only your defense is playing at a very, very high level, which they have all the way up to this point in the season, but is this a game where maybe you get a defensive touchdown, you get a special teams turnover, on a muffed punt or something like that for Vanderbilt that can turn the field, flip the field for you and put you, in position to where the offense essentially isn't having to do all of the work to put points on the board. It feels like it's going to have to be one of those kinds of games for Auburn because, again, I don't think the offense is going to look that much different. I know Derek Nix is solely calling plays now, according to DJ Durkin, but you're 8 games into a season. You kind of are who you are at this point with the talent that you have. It's just tough for me to see that Auburn's going to go on the road against a Vanderbilt team that's fighting for their playoff hope. They can't drop another game. It just feels like Diego Pavia kind of lives for these moments. So I'm going to take Vanderbilt. I think they cover and get the win. I think they win by 7 to 10 points, something like that, up in Nashville.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And I think that you kind of have to have a conversation of which team do you believe in desperation mode is better. I think it's Vanderbilt because they've had their backs against the wall for so long. It's kind of their identity. And what you saw, especially coming back from Texas, against Texas the way that they did, is they still have a lot of fight left in them. And I think the energy that they have with Diego Pavia and what he brings, it's just the calling card. I think Auburn's defense has played at a phenomenal level, but just because you fired Hugh Freeze doesn't necessarily make me feel that the offense is just going to flip a switch that fast, and also on the road. So I think that Auburn can keep it competitive and keep it close, but I still think Vanderbilt is the better team in this matchup, and I think they'll go out there and prove it. So I think I'm with you. I think Vanderbilt wins anywhere between 7 to 10 points.
All right, and then at 6:30 tomorrow night on ABC down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the least hyped Alabama LSU game in recent memory. I mean, again, I guess we would go back to 2021, which I brought up earlier this week. That was a close game with a bad LSU team that Alabama really, really struggled in that matchup. So maybe that's a sign of things to come forward tomorrow. But LSU, they are 5-3 on the season. This will be their first game after firing Brian Kelly. Frank Wilson going to step in as the interim. Alabama, this line has moved a little bit. Alabama now getting 9.5 points at home in this matchup. I'm going to say this again. I said it yesterday, probably not going to be the most popular opinion. I took the under yesterday and bet it or forget it because I do think this is going to be a little bit lower scoring. I think LSU covers the points. I think Alabama's going to win this game. But again, there's so many one-score games in the SEC this year, and whether it's Alabama having to go and kick a field goal or score a late touchdown to kind of seal the victory, or it's like I brought up with Georgia and Florida, it's a game where you're up by a touchdown, or one score the majority of the fourth quarter. Maybe you feel comfortable, but you just don't punch it in again. You're just kind of trying to run down the clock, and it ends up being a 6-point win or something. So I think Alabama gets the victory, but I do think LSU can keep it within the points. I think LSU's going to have some fire to them. I think they're going to come out ready to play, but I also think Alabama coming off the bye week is going to be nice and refreshed. So give me Alabama to win, but I think LSU keeps it within the points.
If this game was in Death Valley, I'd feel like you're feeling. I think Alabama is the better football team. I think they're hitting their stride at the right time. And like I said yesterday, I think this is business. They're not going to read too much more that's into it. We know what our assignment is the rest of this month. LSU, you're the first one up. I think the confidence in which Ty Simpson is playing with is tremendous. I think the defense is really starting to come into its own. All 11 just kind of they're gelling at the right time. I think Alabama is just rolling right now, and LSU just happens to be victim. Yeah, I think LSU will play a little bit looser because, I mean, what do they got to lose besides the ball game? But I think Alabama is the better football team, and LSU may have some hope, but I think it'll dwindle as the game continues to roll on.
So there you go, Alabama over LSU. Damian likes the Crimson Tide. We both like them to win. I like LSU to cover the points, though. And I'll just say, again, an interesting part of this matchup for me is the last couple of years, Alabama has dominated this game because of what Jalen Milroe offered with his legs at the quarterback spot. You don't have that anymore. How are you going to find ways to replicate that, whether it's with Jam, with Jeremy Bernard, maybe getting Ty Simpson a little more mobile? But I think that's an interesting part of this matchup, right? Because we've seen Alabama had a game plan the last 2 years that worked to perfection. Now you can't do that same game plan anymore. So how are they going to mix things up? And I think that's something certainly to keep an eye on tomorrow night in Bryant-Denny Stadium. This text comes in. It says, enjoy the weekend of ball, fellas. Roll Tide from Chicago. Haven't been able to tune in today, but I wanted to text in and let you know that I'm definitely going to listen to the podcast, and I hope y'all enjoy the games this weekend. Well, thank you. We appreciate you chiming in with your thoughts this morning. This one comes in. It says, seen too many times where a coach gets fired and the players seem to get all excited about it. I think Alabama wins, but LSU keeps it close, 28-24. Also makes me wish that Auburn had kept Hugh Freeze until the end of the year. Well, maybe they get that out of the way with Vanderbilt, right? And then if you're Alabama, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, it seems in some cases it kind of strikes once and then.
Right. Then it's back to normal.
Yes.
Yeah, it happens.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. We have other text coming in. This one says, LSU 20-14 over Alabama. Go Tigers. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate you chiming in there. This one says there will be no upset in Iowa. Oregon wins easily 41-20. Ducks bounce back. And then he says his upset of the week, Navy over Notre Dame. Okay. Let's see. Morning, gentlemen. This is from Paul. He says Stoops is back at it again. He'll be back next year. 24-23. Cats over the Gators.
I like it.
I like it too. All right. We appreciate you sending in all your score predictions. It's a fantastic final score Friday. Y'all have a great weekend, everybody. Mackerel and Kublik in the morning is next.